Hello and welcome to Digital Painting with Ashley Dotson, Process and Techniques for Creating a Digital Illustration. I'm Ashley Dotson, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about, I'm going to give you a little bit of a window into what I'm thinking and my process, and a few tips and tricks for digital painting, stuff I think about when I'm doing a digital painting, full digital illustration, and also some insight into some fundamental artistic principles that I think every artist should know, digital or traditional. So let me know what you think, and let's get right to work. Okay, so here we are. I'm starting the block in of the main atmosphere color right now. I started off with that's a sketch and a black, white, and mid-tone gray thumbnail that you see in the background there. I usually start with something like that to just figure out the composition and placing of everything and the main values and contrasts before I get started. And that really helps to plan everything out so you don't end up with, really muddy, confused end product where you have to kind of change everything late in the game. So right now I'm just getting the basic colors. I just saturated everything. Sorry, the edges are cut off there. I zoomed out later in the video because this is the first time me doing this, but I laid down some gradients. That's what you see there with the gradient tool. It's paired with the paint bucket. So if you can't see it in Photoshop right away, that's what I'm using. And this is just a standard default, chalk brush. I don't use that many brushes when I'm painting. It's pretty much just a few that I go back to over and over again. They get the job done. And the technique doesn't vary very much, so as you'll see. I use a few harder brushes, smaller brushes for detail, but that's not until really late in the game. Generally, at first, you really want to just kind of block in your main forms and your main values and colors. Typically, it depends on what you're comfortable with. I know a lot of artists start out with just black and white and then move to color. I used to do that, and I still do that sometimes, but for something like this, I just wanted to dive right in and go right to color. So, but either way, it's still the same. You want to do really broad, big brush strokes at the beginning, not focusing on detail. This is a very general stage. And I can't stress that enough. I see a lot of beginning artists kind of diving right into the detail right away because that's kind of the most noticeable thing about when you see an amazing illustration or amazing piece of concept art. It's super detailed and pulled out all the stops and it's just awesome. But really what makes them so awesome is that they nailed down that broad image first and they knew exactly what it was going to look like at the end. Because the beginning sketch, they laid out all the important stuff, first. And then they put in the detail and stuff, and it was just extra, It's just kind of relaxing Zen thing to do that polishes the image at the end. You don't want to dive in right away into it. So laying in some more gradients for atmosphere now. Really, again, not paying too much attention to tightening up the detail. I'm being really kind of sloppy right now. And you'll notice also, I forgot to mention this, but you'll notice also that I've got my sketch layer on top there, but for the most part I'm working in one layer. So really the only time that I am painting on other layers is if I want to add something that I think is a little bit risky or could dramatically change the image, and if I don't like it, I wouldn't want to get rid of it, I can do that. But in general, I'm working on like that. That's kind of like a huge, bright, big color, and I'm not sure if that's the color I want to go with or anything. So I'm kind of experimenting with it. It just makes it easier to isolate. So but yeah, in general, I'm sticking to 1 or 2 layers at a time. I used to work at like 70 layers or something like that. Crazy. It really slows down your program, and it can get really confusing and slow you down a lot of the time. And plus, Photoshop is really, I don't know how many of you have the newer versions, but there's this option that was implemented or not option, but some kind of function that they put in where if you undo, it goes to the layer that you worked on, and then you could work forever on this other layer that you didn't want to work on, and then it's too late by the time you realize it to do anything about it. So, long story short, that's why I typically like to work on 1 layer. And every once in a while, if I have a bunch of layers accumulating, I'll hit. I have a Mac, so it might be different for PC, but there's a function in Photoshop where you can, on a Mac, it's Command Option Shift E, and I'll have to figure that out for PC. But what it does is it basically merges it doesn't merge, but it takes every visible layer that you have right now and puts it all onto 1 layer. So that's great because I can continue working off of that and turn the layer off and on, every once in a while to make sure I like the direction that the image is going. And if I don't, I can just, set myself back to where I was before. And it's a not destructive way to kind of handle working in 1 layer. So it's like you're saving multiple copies almost. And of course, save often. Can't stress that enough. You see the little low bar at the bottom going up, every once in a while. But yeah, so I've got 2 major light sources. Well, I guess it could be 3, but the red one down behind the rocks there underneath the big monster, and the one coming in from the upper right. So what I really was having trouble with in this image, and you'll see later how I fix the problem, but I'm really thinking about the whole time the story and where I'm leading the eye and the flow of the image. So what I really wanted was for the 2 kids in the front to be obvious and have the monster back there, but not, covering up. And you see me working with this right now, trying to figure it out. But I really didn't want people to not see the 2 kids there, because that provides a lot of story and is important to the image. So it's really a balancing act between subordinating certain things that you don't want to catch your attention necessarily, or catch people's attention, and making other things more dominant. And it's really a balancing act. You have to kind of figure stuff out as you go along, but planning in the beginning definitely helps a lot. So you see now here what I'm doing is putting a spotlight on them and trying to screen the background over a little bit. So also that helps with the distance. That's the gradient tool again. On the screen setting, I think the layer mode is screen. But yeah, I'm also trying to push the monster back a little bit so that it looks like it's got some distance, and also makes him kind of pop out a little less. But yeah, really thinking about the composition here and the lighting situation, the story situation, all that stuff. Very important. A great book if you want to read more about this stuff, because it's extremely important. And I think a lot of artists don't necessarily understand how important it is. But if you want to really, really get ahead and really, figure this stuff out, a great book for that would be Creative Illustration by Andrew Loomis. It's a really great book because a lot of people concentrate on the technique, and that's kind of what I'm talking about in this video, but a lot of people concentrate on, the digital techniques and, how do I do this and stuff, but this book delves into the why, which is really, really important. I can't stress it enough for visual storytellers. That is concept artists, illustrators, everybody who wants to work in this stuff. It's extremely important that you stand out, because and the only way you're going to stand out is if you can, visually deliver a story and it looks really, really good. Because if you're painting and you get really good at painting, but your images are just not catching on, and they're not popular, they're not touching anyone, you don't know why, that would be a great place to start. So you see me here messing with the curves and the levels a bit to get the contrast and colors where I want them. And I'll be messing with that throughout. It's really a huge process for me. I don't always know what I'm working with, I know what I'm working with, but I have a general aim, but I don't always know exactly how the image is going to turn out, and that's just because it's a process, figuring it out as you go. And being a problem solver as an artist is extremely important. So. So this is, as you can see, it's a little bit, it's still very loose. Right now I'm probably about, I would say probably a couple hours into working on this, and I still haven't gotten into details yet. I'm still figuring out the basics, the perspective